All right, so we're diving into something pretty different this time.
Yeah, it's definitely unique.
A whole stack of messages from a WhatsApp group chat.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to try to figure out what it tells us about life in Nigeria in 2024.
Sounds fascinating. I'm ready.
You've had time to go through these chats, right? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, so we're looking at October and November 2024. Messages from about a dozen guys, most of them middle-aged, all Nigerian.
So, is this just everyday chit-chat? Or are we going to find some deeper stuff?
Oh, it gets deep, trust me.
Okay.
They talk about everything you can imagine. Religion, politics, football.
Right, the essentials.
But what's really interesting is how those things connect.
How so?
You start to see their anxieties about money, power, the forces shaping their world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like we're getting this raw, unfiltered look into what it's like to be a Nigerian man today.
All right, I'm hooked. Where do we even begin with all this data?
Well, one of the first things that jumped out at me was religion.
Oh yeah, I noticed that too. There's a lot of back and forth about it.
You've got Skins, he's like this super devout Pentecostal Christian.
Right, and he keeps clashing with Moggy and Imarino.
Exactly. They're much more skeptical, they question the Bible, the pastors, the whole thing.
Especially when it comes to tithing, Skins is adamant that it's the key to salvation.
It is fascinating, right? And then you have Moggy and Imarino pushing back hard.
Yeah, they're like, wait a minute, is this really what Christianity is about? What about following Christ's example?
It is more than just a theological debate, though.
Okay, what do you mean?
Skins' whole thing about tithing guaranteeing salvation, it's classic prosperity gospel.
Oh, right. That's huge in Nigeria, isn't it?
It's massive, especially among people who are striving for better life.
So it's like tapping into that desire for upward mobility.
Exactly. And it's tied to this idea that if you're financially blessed, it means God favors you.
Okay, so how does that play out in the group?
Well, Moggy argues that true Christianity is about following Christ's example, not just blindly obeying pastors.
Which I'm sure doesn't sit well with Skins.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He gets pretty defensive.
So it makes you wonder if there's some personal tension there, too, beyond just the religious stuff.
Oh, I'm sure there is. But it also raises this question of who gets to define good Christian behavior.
Especially when money and status are involved.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to individual morality either.
Okay, how so?
Well, you've got Inini, another member, who brings up this really thought-provoking point.
Oh, yeah. What's he saying?
He's criticizing modern society for judging past civilizations while ignoring our own ethical failings.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he even calls out members of the group who work in the oil industry.
Wow, that's bold.
Right. He accuses them of hypocrisy for profiting from something that's destroying the environment.
So they're not afraid to call each other out, even within the group.
Not at all. It shows how deeply they engage with these issues.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just surface-level disagreements. They're really grappling with some big stuff.
Exactly. These conversations are about more than just religion. They reflect deeper anxieties about Nigeria's future.
Its place in the world, yeah.
And who benefits from its resources.
It's all connected.
Absolutely. And speaking of Nigeria's future, let's not forget about politics.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Nigerian politics gets them fired up.
Oh, you have no idea. In October, the chat just explodes with talk about this political crisis in Rivers State.
Between Governor Fubara and former Governor Wyke?
Yeah, that's the one. They're dissecting every little detail, from the new Electoral Commission chairman to the swearing in of new LGA chairman.
It sounds intense.
Oh, it is. And it's not just aisle chair analysis either.
What do you mean?
They're sharing news about local government buildings being set on fire.
Whoa, that's serious. This isn't just theoretical for them. It's affecting their lives, their sense of safety.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how they connect these events to Nigerian history and literature.
Oh, like how?
Well, Skins compares the situation to Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart.
Oh, wow, that's a classic.
Right, and he's lamenting the corruption and breakdown he sees in the judiciary.
So he's looking for answers, for some kind of moral compass in the face of all this chaos.
Exactly. And by connecting it to this iconic novel, it emphasizes how disillusioned he feels with the political landscape.
And I'm guessing that feeling of disillusionment isn't limited to politics.
You got it. It spills over into their anxieties about the Nigerian economy, which is another big theme in these chats.
Yeah, the devaluation of the Naira keeps coming up. They're constantly sharing news articles and opinions about it.
It's a constant source of stress for them. And they're really critical of the role international financial institutions play.
Like the World Bank and the IMF.
Exactly. They're not just accepting it passively, they're actively debating it, trying to understand the impact on their lives.
It's like they're looking for someone to blame, trying to make sense of why things are so tough.
Yeah, and that leads to some interesting takes, especially when it comes to the Dangote refinery project.
Oh, that's supposed to be this huge economic boost for Nigeria, right?
That's the idea. But they're deeply skeptical.
Really? Why?
They see it as another example of elite capture and foreign exploitation. Like, the benefits won't actually reach ordinary Nigerians.
I see.
And Kini even calls those involved economic assassins.
So there's this sense that something shady is going on behind the scenes.
Exactly. Their distrust of this project, even with all its promises, reflects a much deeper anxiety about who really benefits from economic development in Nigeria.
And that ties back to their conversations about politics and corruption.
Right. Absolutely. It's a common thread that runs through a lot of their discussions.
And it leads us into some pretty interesting territory. The realm of conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, the one about the Nigerian entertainment industry list really caught my attention.
Tell me about that. What's it all about?
Well, it's supposedly this expose of all these famous people using occult practices to get ahead.
Like witchcraft and stuff, seriously.
Yeah. And what's really fascinating is that Inie, who's a filmmaker himself, claims to have firsthand knowledge of this stuff.
No way. What does he say?
He talks about feeling pressured to compromise his values for success, and even suggests that some of the sponsorship offers he's received might be linked to these occult networks.
Whoa, that's a bit creepy. So, how much of this is real and how much is just paranoia?
It's hard to say for sure, but it speaks to their anxieties about the hidden forces shaping success and failure, especially in an industry like entertainment.
Where it's all about image and perception.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this feeling that there are these unseen hands controlling things, we see that pop up in other parts of their conversations too.
Interesting. Okay, let's keep going. I'm all ears.
It's interesting how that idea of hidden forces, connects to their views on social issues.
Yeah, like what?
Well, gender and sexuality, for example. The whole global rise of LGBTQ plus visibility is definitely on their radar.
Oh, yeah, I see that in the chats.
And it sparks some pretty intense debates,
Like, are they grappling with how to reconcile these changing social norms with their religious beliefs?
And you can imagine Skins is having none of it. He goes off calling it a sign of moral decay and all that.
Yikes.
He even implies that people who accept homosexuality are part of some grand conspiracy.
So tolerant.
Right? It's really something. But then Moggy, he steps in to challenge Skins' interpretation of the Bible.
Moggy always brings the nuance.
He does. He argues that you have to consider the historical context, the cultural nuances, all that.
Not just take things literally.
Exactly. And he even brings up the Council of Nicaea.
Okay, remind me. What was that again?
Well, it was this gathering in the 4th century that basically shaped the Christian canon.
Right. I vaguely remember that from history class.
So Moggy's point is that the Bible as we know it today is a product of human choices.
Of what to include and what to leave out.
Exactly. It wasn't just dictated by God. It's been shaped by people over time.
That's a pretty bold statement to make in a group where some members seem to treat the Bible as, like, the absolute word of God.
It is. And it definitely gets Skins riled up.
I bet. What does he say?
He accuses Moggy and Imarino of being anti-Christ.
Oh, come on.
And warns them about God's judgment and all that.
It's like they're stuck in this battle between faith and reason, trying to reconcile their beliefs with evidence and logic.
It's a fascinating tension, right?
It is. And then Eni throws another wrench into the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. What does he do?
He mentions the Nag Hammadi library.
Ah, those ancient Christian texts that were left out of the official Bible.
Exactly. The ones that offer these alternative perspectives on early Christian beliefs.
Right. So Eni's point is that there's no one right way to interpret Scripture, that it's all about critical thinking.
Which is a pretty radical idea for some people.
It is, but it shows how much they're engaging with these complex theological and historical questions.
It's pretty deep stuff for a WhatsApp chat,
I know, right? They're not just gossiping about celebrities or sharing memes. They're grappling with these big ideas.
It makes you wonder how much these online spaces influence their understanding of the world.
It has to, right? It's a space for them to bounce ideas off each other, challenge each other's beliefs.
To explore these questions they might not feel comfortable discussing in their offline lives.
Exactly. And remember, all of this is happening against the backdrop of these real-world concerns like the economy.
Right. The devaluation of the Naira is a constant source of anxiety for them.
And they're acutely aware of the role that global financial institutions play.
Like the World Bank and the IMF, yeah.
They see how those organizations often dictate economic policies that don't benefit ordinary Nigerians.
Which fuels their distrust, their suspicion.
Exactly. And that spills over into those conspiracy theories we were talking about.
Like the one about the Nigerian entertainment industry list.
That's a prime example.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're trying to find explanations for why things are so tough.
Why the rules seem rigged against them.
They want to understand how power works, who has it, and how it's being used, both in Nigeria and on a global scale.
So how are they connecting those dots? What are they saying about the global stage?
Well, the Russia-Ukraine conflict is a big one for them.
Oh, I bet. That's been dominating the headlines everywhere.
They're following it closely, debating the motives of both sides,
Yeah.
speculating about what it means for the future.
It's like a microcosm of the global debate playing out right there in their chat group.
Exactly. And it gets pretty heated at times.
I can imagine. Are they picking sides?
You know, it's interesting. They're all over the map.
Really?
Some of them support Russia, seeing it as pushing back against NATO and American dominance.
Okay, so they're aligning with like an anti-West sentiment.
Yeah, you could say that. But then others are firmly on Ukraine's side, condemning Russia's aggression and calling for intervention.
So they're reflecting the complexities of the global conversation, recognizing that there are multiple perspectives.
It's not a simple black and white issue for them, which I think is really interesting.
It is. And they're not just looking at this conflict in isolation, are they? They're connecting it to their own experiences in Nigeria.
Oh, absolutely. They draw parallels between how powerful nations act on the global stage and the challenges facing developing countries.
They see a connection between the geopolitical maneuvering and the problems they face at home.
Exactly. They're acutely aware of how these global power dynamics can leave countries like Nigeria vulnerable.
Like caught between the interests of larger, more powerful players.
Right. And they see this playing out in everything from energy prices to food security to international relations.
So they're realizing that what happens on the other side of the world can have a direct impact on their daily lives.
It's a wake-up call to the interconnectedness of our world, and this feeling of being on the periphery, subject to forces beyond their control. It gets amplified when they talk about the expansion of BRICS.
Ah, BRICS, that block of emerging economies challenging the Western-dominated world order.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it sparked some really interesting conversations.
I bet. What are they saying? Are they excited about it? Worried?
Well, some of them, especially Imerino, see BRICS as a potential counterweight to the West.
Like a chance for countries like Nigeria to gain more independence on the global stage.
Exactly. They talk about increased trade, investment, access to new technologies, maybe even a shift away from relying on Western financial institutions.
So there's a sense of hope there, a belief that maybe there's a different path forward.
Yes, but there's also caution. They recognize the challenges of navigating this complex geopolitical landscape.
And the potential risks of aligning too closely with any one bloc.
Right. They're trying to walk this tightrope, finding a path that benefits Nigeria without getting caught in the middle of a bigger power struggle.
It's a delicate balance, for sure. But ultimately, their discussions about BRICS reveal this deep desire for a more equitable world order.
Where developing countries have more of a say in their own future.
Exactly. It's inspiring to see them engaging with these global issues, not just as passive observers, but as individuals who want to understand and maybe even influence the forces shaping their world.
It's a powerful reminder that even in these seemingly ordinary spaces, like a WhatsApp group chat, these grand narratives are being debated and discussed.
Reflecting the hopes and anxieties of real people grappling with a rapidly changing world.
Exactly. And those real people have a lot to say about their personal lives, too.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Oh, their conversations about women and relationships are particularly fascinating. You can really see this push and pull between traditional expectations and more modern views.
On things like love and marriage.
Yeah. And gender roles, too.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to figure out how to navigate these shifting dynamics.
Okay, give me the juicy details. What kind of conversations are they having?
Well, one of the big debates that comes up is whether a woman should date a broke guy.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm sure there are some strong opinions on that.
You bet.
Yeah,
Some of them argue that financial stability is essential for a relationship.
like the man should be the provider.
Exactly. But then others say that love and compatibility matter more than money, especially when you're young.
It's like they're trying to reconcile those traditional ideas about masculinity and responsibility with the reality that women are more independent now.
Financially independent, too.
Right. It's a whole new world, and they're trying to figure out how to fit in.
And sometimes those discussions reveal anxieties about male authority and privilege.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Like they're worried about losing control, about women gaining too much power.
I remember one conversation where they were talking about a post about a guy whose wife refused to cook for him.
Oh yeah, that one got everyone riled up.
I bet. What were they saying?
Well, some of them sympathized with the guy, clinging to those traditional views about a wife's role.
Right, like she should be taking care of the home and her husband.
Exactly. But others challenged that, arguing that it should be about shared responsibility, regardless of gender.
So it's another example of these larger societal debates playing out in their private conversations.
They're struggling to make sense of these changing roles and expectations, both in society and within their own relationships.
It's not just about gender dynamics, it's about how they see themselves as men in a world where the old rules don't seem to apply anymore.
Where the hierarchies are being challenged.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It is. And their conversations about women and relationships offer a really fascinating glimpse into how they're grappling with all of this.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from religion and politics to global events and personal relationships. It's been quite a journey so far.
It has. And there's still so much more to explore, especially when it comes to their individual stories, their personal struggles and triumphs.
Okay, let's dive in. I'm ready to hear more. You know what's really striking to me? Through all these heated debates and deep dives into global issues, these guys are surprisingly open with each other.
Yeah, it's true.
They're sharing their fears, their dreams, their struggles.
Definitely a level of honesty you don't always see.
It's refreshing, actually.
It is.
Especially when it comes to work and money.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
They're constantly talking about the pressures of providing for their families, navigating this tough economic landscape.
It's a lot to carry.
It is, and you really see that raw honesty in Innie's conversations about the film industry.
Right, he doesn't hold back.
He talks about how hard it is to get funding, the demands from sponsors, just the constant hustle to stay afloat.
Yeah, it's a tough business.
And he even hints at this, darker side.
The rumors of occult practices.
Yeah, and the compromises people make for success.
It's like we're getting this behind-the-scenes look at Nollywood,
It's not all glitz and glamour.
Definitely not.
There's real struggle there.
Absolutely.
And it's not just tinny either.
No, not at all.
Others show their experiences with job insecurity, financial setbacks.
The daily grind,
Yeah, it's like this common thread that binds them together, this shared experience of trying to make ends meet.
Makes sense.
But what I find really heartwarming is how they support each other.
Oh yeah, that's really beautiful.
They offer advice, encouragement, even financial help sometimes.
True.
It's a reminder that community matters, even online.
Absolutely. It's not just about practical support, though.
What do you mean?
There's also a lot of humor in their interactions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Shared interest, those lighthearted moments that help them escape from the stress.
It's like their football banter.
Oh, that's the best.
They're so passionate about their teams.
The analysis, the trash talk, it's hilarious.
And it's not just football. They bond over music, movies, even food.
Right. I love that one message where Skins is describing this amazing meal he had. He was so excited about it. It's a good reminder that even amidst all the serious stuff, they find joy in the simple things.
Yeah, that's
It's a
important.
testament to their resilience,
Finding humor and connection even when things are tough.
Exactly. They're not just surviving, they're finding ways to thrive.
It's inspiring, honestly.
It is. It reminds us that even in a world that feels chaotic and uncertain, those little moments of connection, of laughter and joy, they're what make it all worth it.
I couldn't agree more. This deep dive has been incredible, really.
It has been fascinating, yeah.
We've explored their beliefs, their struggles, their hopes, their humor.
So much ground covered.
It's given us this amazing glimpse into the heart of what it means to be Nigerian in 2024.
I think so too. And for you, listening in, we hope it's given you a chance to step outside your own bubble a bit.
To see the world through a different lens.
Right. We've witnessed their debates about faith and reason, their worries about power and corruption.
Their search for meaning in a world that's constantly changing.
But above all, we've seen how powerful human connection can be.
The way these men find strength and solace in their shared experiences.
Even in something as simple as a WhatsApp group chat.
As we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought. We focused on a group of Nigerian men.
Right.
But how might these conversations be different in a group of Nigerian women from similar backgrounds?
Ooh, That's a great question.
What unique perspectives would they bring to the table?
Something to think about for sure.
Definitely. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep seeking out those diverse perspectives that enrich our understanding of the world.
Couldn't say better myself.